showed her stick drawing one. Sit down. She will just give you.
It's not that.
She will just give you Playboy magazine now. Or she will just give you. So
Why they look me?
So your grandmother showed you. So your grandmother showed you diagrams of sex positions.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
10.
10. Can you remember that situation?
I was just looking now. My mother came to call me. Yeah. They want to take picture with me.
Camera was going on.
She didn't even finish talking herself. I was just listening.
So that was a birthday gift to you. Porn.
What do you mean porn? What do you mean porn?
I can't remember what was going on in your mind when she was talking to you.
I can't remember. I was just there looking. And I was saying I understand.
But they told you about sex,
Sure.
What
even before that, didn't you hear it in school or something?
In school? Which school?
It's not school's responsibility to teach.
No. I think they're talking about reproduction.
That's not sex.
What is it?
That's anatomy of reproduction. That's just.
Don't they tell you what happens when?
That's not sex. Teaching reproduction is not taken as let's talk to.
Even from school, don't you already know about it? Even if it's not your teacher telling you about it.
You're not getting my point.
What's your point? I'm not saying with your teachers, your teachers.
Yeah, that is why the topic is: did your parents talk to you? How do you think it should be handled?
How do you think it should be handled?
What age do you think is right for that kind of talk to take place?
16
Just
years.
the age. Let me finish now. First of all, what age do you think it should be? The 16.
That's that. 40-year-olds are giving birth.
12. But anyway, first of all, what age?
So is this 12-year-old boy?
Let me talk.
That boy is like.
How do you think the youngest people to give birth?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that is it.
How do you think the youngest people?
Boys.
Is
it 12-year-olds?
But
Yes.
12-year-old boys can give birth.
Why you there?
Why do you think guys can impregnate somebody?
I don't know.
Oh, you're sleeping on the bars.
Wait. What age can what age can Uncle start? What did I say, Uncle? What age can boys start a pregnancy?
When they start having their wet dreams now.
No, that's not it.
So when is it? Is that not what it is?
Is it by age or is like
so boys
like
can just
period
be
can
pregnant
come
again,
anytime?
as in at any time. Maybe starting from 8, 10.
Guys start producing spermatozoa at the onset of puberty. Puberty starts at different times for different people. Boys usually start puberty when they're around 10, 12 years old. Though some start a little sooner and others a little later. You see that a little sooner? I bet there's someone at 9.
You see why the woman must have done it at 8.
At 10. Thinking about this.
No, because there are girls that start their menstruation.
Yeah.
Forget the sex position.
My issue is not that she was talking to you about sex. That's not my question. There are more healthy ways to go about it than showing somebody diagrams.
I mean, but
what?
Why is that such a... I'm agreeing that it wasn't, maybe that's not the best way to go about it.
So what's the issue?
Okay, I won't have to.
But yeah, I've heard 9. And I've heard a 9-year-old boy impregnating somebody.
How do 9?
Yeah.
I feel like they should start when they hit puberty.
But people
They're saying that.
I know, but they
should.
But you know.
Educate.
It's not like there's a timetable. It's not like something will happen like, puberty. It can happen. It could be anything.
What should I maybe have a very great thing?
You think you will know?
You know.
You will know.
Why would you know?
If your son starts having.
Actually, when they start early.
No, you think you will know if he starts having hair on his armpits.
Yes, because they will show it to you.
Be there? Am I a boy?
For real?
At what age do you start growing hair?
It's not about at what age. Do you think they'll not be forthcoming about puberty?
I'm saying that if they start at a very young age and it's just somehow to them.
Yeah, am I not a boy?
I say I think.
I'm telling you that.
But you're not every boy now.
But I'm telling you that's not usually the case.
So you're telling me now that when you started having hair, you didn't even like tell your mom or your dad?
What am I telling? What for what? What am I telling them?
Do you think it's because at the age you started this, you already understood what was going on?
Is hair a foreign concept? Hair is not a foreign concept to me.
Hair wasn't there.
But hair is not a foreign concept to me. I can see men around me with hair. I have a father in the house with hair. I have men around me growing beards, having hair on their chest. It's not like I just walk around and have a horn on my head. It's not a foreign concept now. So I know what is going on. I know that at a certain point in time I will have hair on my body. So it's not like I'll have it and I'll run to my mother's room and be like, Mommy, Mommy, I don't know what's going on.
Children of God, you shout hallelujah. Hey!
This guy. But I talk about sex, I get not alpha.
Yeah, I do, you know me. I do.
Yeah, tell us now. How did they talk? When, how, why, where, what was the situation? Who? I'm very interested in the who. Oh God.
Yeah, so I have two separate events. That's because my parents never talked to me about it together separately. So the first one, of course, is my mother. Yeah. And I actually called my mom for something else. Like I needed, because my mom's a nurse, so I had sleep paralysis. At the first time I had it, I didn't know what it was. So I called my mom. I was like, "Yo, like, I thought I was dying." I was like, "What the fuck?"
I already know what her response to that was.
Oh yeah, of course. You need to pray. I was like, "Look, I don't got time for that. I need some responses now." So then after I hang up the call, after we had that whole discussion, I hang up. So she calls me back and she's like, "Oh, Josh, I need to ask you a question." So, we never really talked about sex like that before, so it's not something that I thought was coming up.
How old
she was just like,
how old are you in this ever?
I was 18. I was a freshman in college. I already had sex. I was a freshman in college.
Bro, I'm like 18. That's
I had, this is when I started. I was like, boom, I was moving through the shit. So my mom was like, "Oh, have you ever had any sexual what did she say? Sexual intercourse with a woman?" So she caught me off guard because I legit I just woke up when I called my mom. So I was just like, "Wait, what?" And so I was like, "Yes," because I just don't lie. So I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Huh?" I was like, "Yeah, of course."
Said yes.
I have. Yeah, I say yes. I don't go lie. I do not enjoy lying to my parents.
Please tell me she gave you one
You know what?
Oh, on the
phone. Secondly, why would she slap?
Oh, on the phone, of course. In real life, I mean, even in real life.
Wants to sweet out for his head.
Would you slap him? Would you slap him?
For him to just tell me yes, of course.
No. I didn't say yes. I didn't say yes, of course.
Oh,
okay. I said yes. Yes, I have. And she said, what? And I was like, yeah, I have.
Pause. How would you react?
How would I react? I just told you how I would react.
You slap him.
If I just reach out for your head.
I
don't know how I would react.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Keep in mind, I was 18 years old when I lost my virginity. My age mates have been.
Bro, because I'm like 18. But if my son tell me he's had sex at 18, I won't even be mad, to be honest.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
If I never talked to him about it before. But go on.
Yeah, so when I told her, she was like, "What? What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I've had sex." And she was like, "But don't you know, are you not, what did she say? Are you not thinking of the eternal consequences?" I said, for me, in my mind, I was like, I mean, the only consequence in my mind is STD and pregnancy. I'm good off both of those because protection. But of course, I didn't say that out loud. So she was like, "Yeah, are you not thinking about the eternal consequences?" And I was like, I mean, no, not really.
Bro, I would actually prefer that to be. I would prefer to have.
Are you not worried for your soul? Are you not worried about her soul? Do you not respect her? And in my head, I was like,
pause.
That's
what. So this is the first sex talk you're getting.
This is the first actual sex talk I'm getting. Yeah. So in my head, when she's like, "Do you not respect her?" Like, I'm just like, I mean, that's why I'm doing it now because I respect I respect her enough to give her the D.
That's the thing with
Oh
Nigerian
my
parents.
god. Oh my dad, the conversation was very simple. There was no actual. The word sex was never really used. It
When,
was.
when is it? When was this one?
This was later. Maybe I was like a junior,
Wait,
probably a
pause. This
senior in
was after
college.
your mom.
This is way after, yeah.
So after 18.
After it, way after that.
Serious.
Like,
Pause. You
my
think
dad
that these
was.
people just felt like at the first that moment you're
He
just
didn't know anything.
you just thought boys and girls were the same. You just didn't even know.
Exactly. He talked to me and my brother at the same time. So me and my brother we just look at each other like, okay. My dad was like, oh no, you know what? I think this is when my brother just started college. You know, my brother is 2 years younger than me, so he was just starting college. So my dad was like, oh yeah, let's have a family talk or whatever. So he was just like, I'm not sending you people to college to go and have children. And I was like, okay, all right. And that was it. That was the sex talk. That was the
That's
sex talk.
not creative. Though. I'm seeing
Yeah,
that one. I have to use that. I have to.
I mean, that's an interesting sex talk because it doesn't say don't have sex, but it just says, look, don't have children. So it's just like, okay, it is implied don't have sex, but you know, I feel like it should just sexually educate people of how to have safe sex, how to have good sex, how to have consensual sex. You know what I'm saying? And then I feel like that goes a lot further. That does a lot better, for our communities than Jesus said, "Do not, thou shalt not fuck." You know, as
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like for me it is. I shock you. I feel
I
like
just understand that.
you shock
Strong
you.
language like that.
I feel like before you impose whatever end notion you want to impart on your child, I feel like there's certain foundational knowledges you should give them. Because it's very cringe for me to just think that you telling your child about sex for the first time you're saying any man that touches you will be pregnant. Or demon will enter you. Or he doesn't even know what sex he doesn't he never you know, bro, don't even get me started. I just well anyway. So anyway, for you, when do you think is the right time? Is there like a certain age you think there's a right time where you could like start to introduce? But for me, thinking about the logic, that I feel like a good segue into sex would be actual education about like uh, genitals and that's why I feel like even for someone like Tammy, it's not even too early to be honest. But like genitals and then like sexual education on how your organs are different from other people and your what your the particulars of your organs and other stuff. I feel like that's a very good segue to it. But what is there a certain age you think would be appropriate to have that discussion? Is there a certain if it's not age, what criteria it is that you think would mark the right time for that talk? And do you think it's different from boys? Do you think it's different for boys or is it different for girls or whatever gender you
Okay. First, I think I'll break it down separate ways. I think anatomically, like my child, if I have one, should know from a pretty young age that he or she, this is what they have, and the other person, that is what they have. Regardless of the purpose of it, they should just understand that difference. That hey, I have this. This is whether it's your wee wee or your toros or whatever you want to call it. This is what I have. That's what she has. So I feel like how old is your brother?
8.
Okay, well, a little older than that. So, but between that age of 8 to 10, there should be no reason why, you know, my son or my daughter should be shocked about. I mean, they should never see it. They probably wouldn't be seeing another person's genital. But also, children are children. Like
Bro,
5 years old children, be like, oh, see my pee. This is my wee wee. You know what I'm saying?
in the playground, under the swings, under the monkey bars.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just because I'll show you mine. Bro. Children
I feel like
are
wow, so at a young age, I feel like my kid should have like a general idea of his not even just his pekka or her pekka or her conch, I guess I would call it. They should have a general
I'm about
idea
to
of
do that.
what anatomically differentiates them from the other sex. Then, as far as like sex talk, I honestly think, especially with the way information and
Exactly now.
transpires in this now, like I feel like by middle school, my kids should know like what sex is, what
Mm.
safe. Not not enough to be like, oh yeah, not like a okay, be like, oh go fuck, no, I'll go have sex, go have intercourse. I'm sorry for my language. Um, go have intercourse, but enough to say like, hey, this is something that people do. I know people that had sex, started having sex at the age of like 13 or 14. So
Bro,
I
just
thought,
I know a guy that got a guy that was 9. He got a girl pregnant, and the girl was not that far away in age from him. So shit.
even
Especially
I feel like in
especially
those
especially
cases,
now that
you
you
gotta
see
ask what's
kids.
going on in their household. Like whenever you see little young children really being sexual, someone introduced that to them inappropriately at a young age, and usually it's
I
a
was about
case
to
of
say that. I was about to
you
say
know
that.
sexual assault, on a pedophilia pretty much. But I feel like at middle school age, like my son or daughter should know, like, hey, this is what sex is. Like, I'm a doctor. I'll break your shit down for them. I feel like even those are conversations that we should be able to have with our children, because when it brings us closer to our children, it helps to destroy that that barrier that formed sometimes as kids growing up. You don't see your parents as people sometimes, especially as Nigerian kids. You don't see your parents as people. You
You
see
know,
them as just, so sometimes you be going through stuff and you can't, because you're not able to talk to your parents openly. You just feel alone. You know what I'm saying? So okay. So for me, if I have kids, I feel like that's important. Like for me to be able to, create that space for open dialogue. I never forget my brother one time asked my dad, "Oh, Daddy, what is a clitoris?" Just
bro,
like just
dude.
very randomly,
If my,
very
if my son
randomly.
if my son asks me that question, bro, first 10 minutes, I'm on the floor. I mean, I'm on the floor laughing. To be honest, man.
But what was a time? What was a moment for education turned to like just it wasn't educating at all. Like because my dad was just like, I'm just going to pretend you didn't say that. So all of a sudden now, like, I mean, I don't know if this is how my brother perceived it, but it could be perceived as, oh, okay, well, I just this is a knowledge that I don't need to know. I think about how many men don't really know what a clitoris is, where a clitoris is, how to touch or pleasure
Even
or
till they're
investigate
married,
clitoris. Even it feels 40,
even
50
till
years
they're
old.
old, till they
Yeah,
die, they're
so
still choosing.
like you had to foreplay, and it sounds like a funny thing to joke about, but like a lot of guys grow up not knowing all these concepts, bumbling through all this shit, not even knowing what consent is and all that shit, just bumbling through it, and then in the meanwhile, while you're bumbling through it, you're hurting people. Right? You hurt
Bro.
people. You
Mm.
also destroy your own. Because I always say it's like branding. If you're gonna be casually having sex, you have to also, to me at least, I think as a guy, you think about that as your brand. So you're bumbling through it, and you're just fucking up your brand, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Before I let you go. Before I let you go.
Don't go.
Before I let you go. It's funny because even when we were talking about honest and just straightforward conversations, out just excluding biases and excluding whatever notions we want to impact on our child, and just starting from a place of just core knowledge of what shit is. Even then thinking to myself, I'm one occurrence that I'll forever hold dear in my heart was one day I woke up my day and I'm like, I asked me a question. Because me as a person, as a boy that was growing, I started to see changes in my body. And I started to see shit that I am very curious about. And I went to my father and I was like, and I asked him, and, and then he goes, okay, come to my room in the towel. And then I went to his room in the towel. And then he locked the door, told nobody to come in. And then he literally, and then he was like, okay, I'm in my towel. And we literally just, guy, if you walked in on us, you'd be like, what the fuck? Well,
What are you
literally,
talking
it
about?
was like an experiment because he was literally explaining shit to me. And I was attentive. because I asked him the question from a very honest, curious place, and he was willing to educate me. So both of us were literally like, both of us were literally like, even me, I was like,
What?
okay. He was telling me shit. I was like, I don't know. They were, and then I was like, and then he would compare. He was like, oh, like, okay, for you might not be the same for other men. Like he was like, I can tell you, mine doesn't look like this. He was like, mine doesn't look like this. You will see other men, they wouldn't look like this. You know what I'm saying? But he was telling me, and at the end of the day, there wasn't like an awkward or some weird vibe in the room. We're just us talking about shit, and we're just, oh, so did you understand? And I was like, yeah. But cool. I put on my towel and I went. And that was it. And nothing weird.
That's great. You know what I'm saying?
That was amazing,
In
exactly.
in that situation, you were educated. You also were able to have an intimate moment with your father, which is not a common thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that is honestly great. I have a question for you. It's kind of a joke, but because of the scenario you told me, because of the scenario you just said. But how would you feel if you had that situation with your son, and then he released his own, and it's him, no question.
What did you say?
Man, at the age I was, bro, at a young, nah, we're going to the hospital because I have to know what's going on.
You'd be like, something's not right here. This son, my son is too much of a bad guy.
Nah, but if you check him out and we're like, he's good, and this is like, he's all good, I'm like, bad guy. Bad guy.